Hello loyal viewers from Mauritius, Latvia, Thailand, Gambia, Papua New Guinea, Guatemala, Cayman Islands, Nepal, Croatia, Myanmar, Benin. Charlie tells Professor Pollard that he owns the Emgrand Group, 10 billion in funds, and JX Pharma, which is making huge profits. Pollard is impressed but refuses to help with shipping because of a promise to his wife. He offers his daughter, Melba, a Stanford PhD graduate and former Goldman Sachs executive. Unfortunately, Melba is in Syria filming an anti-war documentary. Charlie offers $50 million for Melba to return to Aurous Hill and lead his shipping business. Dear viewers, enjoy this storyline. Please subscribe and like. Thank you.
Chapter 2616. Pollard felt that Charlie should have an Emgrand Group and the 10 billion funds in his hands. When these two things add up, it is just over 100 billion and nodded, and the possibility of trying to compete with the Wade family or the Sue family is almost zero. Charlie smiled slightly at this time and said, "You said, Professor Watt, I still have tens of billions of funds in my hands. Moreover, I have a pharmaceutical company with good momentum and an annual profit of 10 billion. It may even exceed 100 billion next year, and it is entirely possible to continue to supply blood for my other projects." Pollard said in surprise, "You have a pharmaceutical company with an annual profit of over 10 billion. What's its name?" Charlie said, "JX Pharmaceutical. I wonder if Professor Watt has heard of it." Pollard was even more shocked, blurting out, "It's the company that produces JX Weisan." Charlie nodded. "Yes, the current core product is JX Weisan." "My God!" Pollard exclaimed, and said, "JX Weisan is now well known worldwide. My gastrointestinal tract has always been a little problematic. I also took a box of Weisan some time ago. It acted immediately. I used to not dare to eat raw, cold, or spicy food. Now I have JX Weisan. What Sichuan cuisine, Hunan cuisine, Yuzhou hot pot, and Japanese cuisine are totally beyond mention." He said, "There are also many friends in the United States who have asked me to help them buy this medicine. Everyone has a reputation for this medicine, but I really didn't expect this company to be yours." Charlie nodded and said, "Originally, I reached cooperation with JX Pharmaceuticals. I reorganized JX Pharmaceuticals and gave certain shares to the person in charge of this pharmaceuticals. Then I integrated Japan's Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, so the production capacity is also increasing by leaps and bounds. I believe that JX Weisan will soon cover the global market. By that time, the profit of hundreds of billions of dollars a year is really not a problem." "Indeed," Pollard said seriously, "the biggest magic weapon of a pharmaceutical company is good medicine. The world's top pharmaceutical companies have annual revenues of hundreds of billions of dollars, which are equivalent to several yuan trillion, but their net profit is generally not too high, because the research and development costs are huge, and the research and development cost of a drug can easily be billions or even tens of billions of dollars. Is the research and development cost of your JX Weisan high?" Charlie shook his head. "The research and development cost of JX Weisan is not high. So my company, in terms of profit margin, will be larger than other pharmaceutical companies." Pollard couldn't help giving a thumbs up and sighed, "This is really amazing. Look at it this way, you can build your own business map in a few years. The future is limitless." As he said, he sighed helplessly, and said, "To be honest, now is really a good opportunity for you to cut into ocean transportation. The market has released such a large share, and you do not lack cash flow. Quickly build up a huge transportation fleet, and then quickly advance related businesses. It's a pity that I really can't violate my oath to help you, and the university department also has high hopes for me. I look forward to taking the economic management major of the university to the highest level in the country. I really want to the hometown elders make some long-term contributions, and hope to cultivate more outstanding talents for the future." Charlie nodded quickly and said, "Professor Watt, I understand what you said. In contrast, your current job has more social value and social significance. I personally understand it." Pollard was silent for a moment, then suddenly remembered something, and said excitedly, "Charlie, if you don't dislike it, let my daughter help you." "Your daughter?" Charlie was a little surprised at once. At this time, Pollard introduced, "My daughter is about the same age as you. She just graduated from Stanford doctorate last year and has been working for Goldman Sachs Capital on Wall Street. She was a little bit rebellious. She didn't listen to anything I said. Charlie couldn't help asking him, Professor Watt, if I want to cooperate with your daughter, can she agree? Pollard hurriedly said, I have been persuading her. The economic development momentum in China is so good now, and it is much stronger than that of the United States and Europe. In terms of development potential, it must be much better than abroad. Her heart moved, but she was a little nervous with me, so my mouth was very stiff. I think if you talk to her, she should agree. With that, Pollard hurriedly added, my daughter dare not say that she is a genius, but she is indeed very spiritual in finance and management. If you can convince her to help you, then I can help behind. At that time, it will be the two of us, father and daughter, helping you do things together, and I will never show up by myself. I will not violate my oath and I will only make suggestions. Charlie was overjoyed when he heard this. It was originally hoped that Professor Watt would be taken down, but according to this situation, it is definitely impossible for Professor Watt to directly help. However, if he can really persuade his daughter to agree to join, then not only will Professor Watt be able to help, but also his daughter will be such a high student. How to look at it is a very cost-effective thing. So Charlie hurriedly asked him, Professor Watt, I wonder where your daughter is now. Pollard sighed, and said, she is now, in Syria. Syria, Charlie exclaimed, and blurted out, I heard that the place is turbulent all day long, why did she run there as a girl without problems? Pollard sighed, hey, when I talk about it, she gets angry. This stinky girl always opposes me everywhere. I let her come to China. After all, China is not only with the most potential, but also the safest. After all, in the United States, there were various shootings in that place all day long. Walking on the side of the road would happen to be hit by bullets. But when this girl heard what I said, she immediately teamed up with a few classmates to Syria and said she was going to go really experience the cruelty of war, and then come back and start an anti-war charity fund. As he said, Pollard grimaced helplessly. You say, isn't this just trying to make trouble with me? Charlie nodded and smiled. So, her character is indeed a bit rebellious. It's more than a little bit. Pollard said a little uncomfortably, do you know what the most annoying thing is? Charlie asked puzzledly, what is it? Pollard just wanted to talk, but suddenly he stopped talking. After a while, he waved his hand and said helplessly, forget it, this is a shame to talk about it, I have no face to tell others. Seeing the pain on his face, Charlie comforted, Professor Watt, in fact, you don't have to be too angry. It's normal for young people to be rebellious. And as far as I know, geniuses in many fields have more or less personalities. Some are rebellious, maybe the more such a child, the stronger the independent thinking, the more able to do some earth-shattering big things. Pollard suddenly covered his chest and said angrily, you don't know how rebellious this stinky girl is. If she just goes to Syria, I will endure it. After all, the place is chaotic, but normally they have civil strife, and they are relatively friendly too. Chinese and overseas Chinese, but this girl, she. After talking about her a few times, Pollard suddenly got stuck again. He blushed and became angry at her for a long time before he sighed and said sullenly, this stinky girl, I told her the year before, she is now a big and young woman. It's time to find someone to marry and have children. You know what she said. Charlie shook his head with a puzzled look, but asked a little curiously, what did she say? Pollard was extremely depressed and said, she told me that she didn't like men. Tell me, a tall girl of 27 or 28 years old, she didn't need to find anything. She even said she didn't like men. Like women. Isn't this going to piss me off? Charlie didn't expect it to be such an answer. He said embarrassedly, Professor Watt, I think she might be joking with you on purpose. After all, you also said that she has always been rebellious. If you let her go east, she will try to go west. Maybe she didn't really want to go west, just acting and deliberately pissing you off. Pollard covered his face and said, hey. I thought so at the beginning, but who would have thought that she brought her girlfriend to the house last year, and told me that she was planning to get married to her girlfriend in a few years. Charlie couldn't help but wonder when he heard this. Pollard sighed depressed at this time. You said that I have such a child in my life. If she really married a girl, how can I see my ancestors in the future? After speaking, he hurriedly looked at Charlie and said seriously, Charlie, it's all up to you. This girl can't communicate with me now. She doesn't listen to what I ask her to do. You help me. She gets to Aurous Hill and asks her to work honestly with you. As long as you can help me do this, I will definitely repay you in the future. Charlie hurriedly said, Professor Watt, you are serious. You are my mother's classmate, friend, and elder. Even if you don't do anything for me, I will do my best to help you. Charlie said, Professor Watt, how about this? Give me your daughter's contact information. I will communicate with her to see if she is interested in my work. That's great. Pollard hurriedly patted his chest and said, Don't worry, although she is my daughter, she is not very reliable when I get along with her, but she is still very, very responsible in doing things. From the perspective of many years, this girl is indeed a talent. If she comes to help you, coupled with my backing support, I believe it will definitely help you do the transportation business. Therefore, if she is advised to come to Aurous Hill, she must come, I beg you. Charlie nodded and said seriously, Professor Watt, rest assured, I will try my best. Pollard hurriedly waved his hand and said seriously, Hey! Don't call Professor Watt such a student, call me Uncle Watt. Charlie smiled slightly and said, Okay, Uncle Watt. Pollard took out his cell phone and said to Charlie, Come on, let's add a WeChat account. I will post her WeChat business card to you when we are done. When you add her, don't say it was recommended by me, just say you happened to see her. You are interested in working with her in depth on papers in financial journals. After that, Pollard said with some embarrassment, This girl is a bit arrogant, you should hold her up too much. If you hold her up so that you can't find north, this will be half done. Charlie knows that what he lacks now is not money but talents. Doing business is not just talking about it, it can be done by imagination. Especially to manage a company, you must have top talents with strong enough ability to make the company bigger and stronger. Charlie now only has two pieces of business in his hands. One is Emgrand Group and the other is JX Pharmaceutical. The Emgrand Group has Doris in charge, and JX Pharmaceutical is in charge of Liang. But in addition to these two business sectors, if he wants to add other new businesses, he is stuck on talent. Orville is loyal, but after all, he is a rough person, and he can execute orders, but he still lacks a lot to really let him use his brain to do big things. The rest, whether it is Qin Gang, Solomon Wang, Talai, or even Warnia, they all have their own business, and Charlie can't let them give up their original career to work for him. Therefore, Charlie's current interest is to recruit as much as possible. If there is a strong management team, then it will not only make breakthroughs in ocean transportation but even in the future, it will be able to expand its business to more areas. Charlie was eager to try Pollard Watt's daughter because he was thirsty for talents. After all, this kind of, buy one get one free, is not very common, so he must seize the opportunity if he encounters it. But he was also very clear in his heart that Pollard was definitely not sure to call his daughter around, so he placed his hopes on him. If he could persuade his daughter to come to Aurous Hill as he wished, Pollard would definitely remember his favor in his heart. So Charlie took out his mobile phone and added Pollard's WeChat account, and then Pollard recommended him a WeChat business card. Charlie looked at the business card recommended by Pollard and found that the other party's nickname was, Little Autumn is Not Scared. The head was a fat baby boy, clenched his fists, and showed an expression of working hard to cheer. Pollard said to the side, Charlie, let me give you a brief introduction. My daughter's name is Melba Watt. Once she should be the same year as you, but I remember that you seemed to be in the first half of the year when the spring flowers bloomed. Roughly speaking, right? Charlie nodded and said, I was born in the second month of the lunar calendar, just 1 month after the spring festival. Yeah. Pollard said with a smile, I probably remember the message I received in the spring. Melba was born in the second half of the year in the fall. At that time, there were fallen leaves at the beginning, so I gave her this name. He said, by the way, you remember what I told you. Don't mention me when adding her. Okay. Charlie said hurriedly, Uncle Pollard, don't worry, I have a sense of measure. Pollard chuckled, patted Charlie on the shoulder, and said, Charlie, your uncle's tense relationship with my girl has to rely on you to mediate. You must do your best. Don't give up easily. Charlie smiled and said, Uncle Pollard, don't worry, I won't hit the south wall and don't look back. If your daughter really doesn't agree, as long as you nod, I will go to Syria and tie her back. Pollard laughed and said, ha ha ha, that shouldn't be so troublesome. I believe in your abilities, and she should be tempted, just praise her with a few words. With that said, Pollard said with some worry, actually, my main concern is that she hasn't played enough yet. In case she really wants to stay in the turbulent place in Syria for a year and a half, most people really can't persuade her. Hey, you don't understand this girl. If she is stubborn, you won't be able to hold her back. Charlie nodded and said seriously, I try to persuade her to try to get her back soon. Okay. Pollard said hurriedly, or you can just add her friends right now and talk to her first. Charlie smiled and said, Uncle Pollard, don't forget, Syria has a time difference with us. If I remember correctly, they should be 5 or 6 hours slower than ours. It shouldn't be dawn yet. Pollard hurriedly said, it doesn't matter if it's not dawn. You add her as a friend first, when will she pass, and when will you start talking to her? Charlie nodded. Okay, then I will add it now, but if I add it directly, it will show that the recommender is you. I'd better copy her WeChat account. After that, he clicked on the business card, copied the WeChat ID, and added it again, and wrote 9 words on the reason for the addition, Director of Aurous Hill Emgrand Group. After the request to add a friend was sent, only a minute later, Charlie received the information that the other party had applied for through his friend. He couldn't help but said in surprise, Uncle Pollard, your daughter hasn't slept so late yet. Pollard said angrily, I guess she can't sleep. If you throw me into that broken place, I guess I can't sleep either. After speaking, he hurriedly urged, Charlie, you can talk to her quickly and find out how she is now. Okay. After Charlie finished speaking, he sent a message to Melba. Hello, Miss Watt, I am Charlie, chairman of Aurous Hill Emgrand Group. I want to talk to you about cooperation. I wonder if you are interested. The other party quickly replied with a voice, Did Pollard ask you to find me? You tell him that I will not go to Aurous Hill, so that he will not waste energy. Pollard heard his daughter's words and said depressed, Charlie, just tell him that you don't know me at all. If you let her know that we are in collusion, she would definitely not want to come. Charlie nodded and continued to reply in text, Miss Watt, you have misunderstood. I don't know Pollard. I just saw your papers in financial journals. I feel that you are really good at international finance and economic management. Great insights. It just so happens that I am now preparing to expand a new project to do ocean shipping. I just lack a person in charge, so I thought of you. The other party asked again by voice, if you were not sent by Pollard, where did you get my WeChat? Pollard was dumbfounded. Just when he didn't know what wording and reason Charlie should use to explain this question, Charlie responded with a voice, Miss Watt, I found you through an international headhunting company. In order to get your contact information, I also paid a headhunting fee of $50,000. Originally, the headhunter should contact you first, but I think it's more direct and efficient to contact you personally for such major cooperation. Headhunting companies are companies that specialize in digging out middle and high-level talents. They are like real estate agents and know all kinds of listings. In theory, as long as they are given money, there is no owner information that they cannot get. At this point, the same is true for headhunting companies. Pollard immediately gave him a thumbs up when he heard Charlie's words. This explanation seemed to him to be seamless. Sure enough, Melba on the other side didn't doubt it either. She replied, I understand, but I'm really sorry. I'm in Syria now, and it may take at least half a year before I leave this place. I may not be able to talk to you. I've cooperated, I'm really sorry. Charlie didn't expect this girl to reject him as soon as he came in contact with her, but it was naturally impossible for him to admit defeat so easily, so he immediately replied, I thought Miss Watt was in the United States, but I didn't expect you to be in Syria. I don't know why you were running there. Melba replied, I and some of my college classmates came to make a documentary about war, and then prepared to use the documentary as an opportunity to launch an anti-war charity fund. Charlie hurriedly said, if Miss Watt is interested in an anti-war charity fund, I can personally donate a sum of money to you. If Miss Watt, you can cooperate with me for a long time, then I can give you a one-time charity. The fund of $30 million would be transferred. After speaking, Charlie said again, to be honest, you graduated from finance majors or going to Syria to shoot war documentaries. This is because the donkey lips are not right. Professional talents must do professional things. Shooting documentaries. This kind of thing can be done by a professional documentary team, and financial talents like you should do everything possible to create more wealth and more jobs for the society. Melba replied, Mr. Wade, what you said is very reasonable, but to be honest, the situation in Syria is more dangerous. Even many professional documentary teams are unwilling to come to this place and go deep into the front line of the war and shoot videos. Moreover, we have also seen some European and American documentary teams' methods of doing things. They generally try to stay away from the front line as much as possible, and their shooting angles are also very narrow. They are even influenced by the mainstream Western media. Praise the war and beautify the war. It is impossible for people outside to realize how cruel wars are, so it is impossible for people in peaceful times to realize the meaning of anti-war ideas. Charlie said immediately, Ms. Watt, can you see it like this? I can sponsor your team for $20 million so that you can make this documentary better. But I only have one request, which is, you can't stay in Syria anymore. The money goes to your team, but you must come to Aurous Hill to help me set up the ocean shipping business. What do you think? As soon as Charlie finished speaking, Pollard, who was on the side, immediately gave him a thumbs up and praised, a good way to move the tiger away from the mountain. Charlie smiled and said, this is not about adjusting the tiger away from the mountain, this is adjusting the lamb away from the wolf pack. At this time, Melba replied, let me leave the team. How can I do it? My team and I have promised to each other that neither of us will back down without authorization. Charlie smiled and said, this is not to make you retreat without authorization, I just gave your team a better choice. With that, Charlie deliberately changed the subject and asked her, Miss Watt, I don't know how you are living in Syria. Are all kinds of supplies available and whether your personal safety is adequately guaranteed? Melba replied, we have relatively difficult conditions here because we are in the war zone and the supply of materials is severely lacking. As for our personal safety, the government has sent a few soldiers to protect us. The overall situation is still relatively good. It is safe. Pollard, who was on the side, heard this and he was relieved immediately. Chapter 2622. Charlie smiled and said at this time, as far as I know, it seems that their government and opposition forces have been fighting very close together, and their government forces are short of money, food, weapons, and ammunition. They must have been inadequate training all the year round, and their combat level. It must be very low. In this case, only a few soldiers have been sent to protect your safety. Then I guess it is basically useless, and you are also unarmed high-achieving students. If an accident happens, you will even have the chance to escape. No, Melba replied hesitantly, I don't think it should be that serious. Charlie smiled and said, that's just what you think. If something really happens, it won't matter how you think it is. As he said, he remembered something, and said, I heard that mercenaries are very popular in the turbulent place in the Middle East. You can hire dozens of well-equipped and well-trained mercenaries to protect your safety throughout the process, so your safety will be more guaranteed. Melba embarrassedly said, the cost of mercenaries is too high. We have consulted the Blackwater company in the United States. On the front line in Syria, their mercenaries' salary requirements are all settled on a daily basis. A person's daily cost is only $2,000, and the cost of any weapons and equipment is not included. The cost of ammunition has to be calculated separately. If they need to be equipped with vehicles, the price is ridiculously high. Our budget is very tight and we can't afford mercenaries. Charlie smiled and said, look, you can figure it out right now. What is the significance of the $20 million I promised you just now? As long as you return home to help me, $20 million can be given to your team. If a mercenary needs $2,000 a day, your team can hire 20 mercenaries, which is only $40,000 a day. Even if your team members have to stay there for half a year, if you calculate it at $40,000 a day, it will be $6 million. Plus the cost of renting some armored vehicles, the $10 million will definitely stop. The remaining $10 million you can all put into the shooting, Only you can use the best photography equipment, the best aerial photography equipment, and even the local armed men with AK-47 when conflicts break out on the ground. Your team can spend money to rent an American mercenary gunship, and take you to shoot from the perspective of God in the sky. The effect of that shot will surely shock the world. Melba was obviously a little tempted, but she still hesitated to say, "What you say is really reasonable, but when we set out, a few of us have already said that we must live and die together, and advance and retreat together. If I leave at this time, it will be a violation of our original agreement." Charlie smiled and said, "Don't have such a strong psychological burden. You are like a few friends driving a broken cart across the desert. Now because there is no oil, they have broken down in the middle of no man's land. Scarce, you people can't stay in the car and consume it together. You have to send someone out to find gasoline so that everyone can have a chance to live. Although this person got out of the car and left the team, she will be able to bring back enough gasoline for the car and save other passengers, better vehicles and equipment, and various supplies can let them move forward better, faster, and safer. Don't you think this is a good choice? Especially for those who are still in the car, it greatly improves their survival security." Quote, "So, I think you can discuss it with your companions. I believe they will also think that this is a very good deal."